welcome to the Athletic NBA Daily for August 7th, 2025. Zena Keita here with my guys, Baraheni and Andrew Schlecht. And we got to get into NBA over and unders. But first, we got some exciting news to share. The Sports Gossip Show has joined the Athletic Podcast Network. So whether you're a diehard fan that has the standings of multiple leagues memorized, I got to give you credit, or you're someone that thinks that Taylor Swift put Travis Kelce on the map, which I will take that credit right back. So join Madeline Hill and Charlotte Wilder as they break down sports with one eye on the game and one eye on the personal life section of the athlete's Wikipedia pages. This is every Tuesday and Thursday on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. All right. Official business out of the way. Andrew S., it's August.
Yes.
We're closing this out. We got to make some predictions over and under in the NBA. Are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Born ready.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive in. First team, Atlanta. This is the team that, we feel pretty high on, especially with some of the offseason moves that they made. Right now, the over-under is 47.5. Their record last year, 40-42. Remember, they added Kristaps Porzingis, added Nickeil Alexander-Walker, lost some size inside, no more Clint Capella, et cetera, but they shored up some things that they really needed in defense and depth. S, what you thinking? Over, under, 47.5.
Man, this is a really interesting one because they probably end up winning 50 games if they're fully healthy. But the question is if they're fully healthy, especially Kristaps Porzingis, who labored through a really weird injury to finish his year. And with Boston, it was clear that he wasn't, towards the end of last year, he just wasn't the same player that they needed him to be. If Atlanta wants to win 50 games, he needs to be healthy. He needs to be available, and he has to play 60 plus games. And so if they can get that version of Kristaps Porzingis in a contract year, by the way, so we know how he can hoop when it comes to his money being on the line, I think that's probably the swing factor here between them being 47.5 and going over, or 47.5 going under. I would say over at this point because I like their depth and what they've done this offseason. But yeah, I'm going to go over.
Wow. I'm going to take the over as well. The way that you laid it out there makes me feel less confident because we're talking about Kristaps Porzingis playing 60 games.
Yeah, fair.
I think it's about Jalen Johnson for them.
Yeah,
he had a torn labrum that caused him to miss the rest of the season. Last year only played 36 games. That's the guy that I think they need to get 65 plus games out of. And if they do, I think one, he's going to make the All-Star team. And then two, I think this team will be really, really good. You have a Onyeka Okongwu that can kind of shore up the center position. They really need one more big because I do think Kristaps is probably going to miss time. Yeah. And so I think their guard rotation is awesome. And I love the guards and wings that they have. I think that they're really set at that position. But it's really the center position that they need a little bit more from. Yeah. And so I do worry about that specifically. But if they do have relative health, I think that they're going to be a 50 plus win team, and they'll be one of the surprise teams in the NBA.
Yeah, you'll notice that with every Eastern Conference team, I'm just going to say someone has to win games. Someone has to win games.
That's important.
There will be a team that just racks up wins because someone on any given night has to win a basketball game.
But Andrew, I think you make a really good point with Jalen Johnson. I think people really don't realize how much he was impacting winning for Atlanta before he went out. Having you've mentioned it before on this show, an all-star, and Andrew, you mentioned it too, all-star level kind of game before he went out. And now it's a level of Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels and Zachary Risachet stepping into the shoes of the moment, of the opportunity. So I'm going to say over as well. I'm with you guys on that. All right.
Overall,
now, the reason why I started with S on the Hawks is because we're doing the Raptors next. And I got to get Andrew's thoughts before we get into S's thoughts on the Raptors. Right now, Raptors are predicted.
Remember what I said. Someone has to win.
Someone has to win. 37.5. Now, remember, they only won 30 games last year.
Yep.
Andrew, I'm going to let you start with this team.
it feels like a really high over under to me.
I think so too.
Okay.
I'm with you on that.
I'm here. I'm listening.
That feels high. I don't know what this team is. Like I don't know what is going on in Toronto. They have a lot of talented players, I would say. But I don't really quite understand the direction that they're going. I'm taking the under on the Toronto Raptors. I think that they are smack in the middle. I think that they'll win around what their over under is, 35, 36 games, I think is where they're going to be at. But like, I don't quite know, like behind Scotty Barnes, like they have talented guys. Like I said, Emmanuel Quickley is a good player. Brandon Ingram is a good player. But I don't know. I don't know how cohesive they'll be. Their pieces don't exactly like fit together in my brain. And maybe that's a me problem. I don't know. Could be.
It seems like the Jakob Poeltl re-signing isn't doing it for Andrew. What are you thinking?
Oh man, people have been really wildly misreporting that extension. That's another story for another day. I'm going to smack the over on this. Absolutely. I'm smacking it too. Like I'm hammering the over. Dave's not here.
If you can find a noise, we got to get that on there. That's crazy.
Look, okay. I'm again going to say someone has to win games in the Eastern Conference.
Okay.
There will be teams that, like you said, Andrew, like at the very least, this is a generally talented basketball team. Their starting five has players that can win basketball games.
They do.
And in the Eastern Conference, that is all you need to win more than 37 and a half games. Here's my pitch, okay? They won 30 games last year. They had a stretch in December where they went 1-16 because they didn't have, I believe they only had 2 of their players in the starting lineup fully healthy. Okay. 1-16. That was when the tank started. They're like, let's just pull the plug, everything. And towards the end of the season, they had a very easy schedule and they tried to tank. They weren't successful in tanking because they were too good to tank.
Too good to tank.
And so they won 30 games tripping over themselves. I'm going to say by adding Brandon Ingram, they've obviously added some talent, and just talent itself will be enough to win 37 and a half games. Wow. I'm taking the over there.
Wow. Yeah. The great thing about the Ingram deal is like it could be anything because we've not even seen it.
We don't even know. We have no idea.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. It is August. We are optimistic at this point, you know?
Right.
So,
as a reminder, Brandon Ingram traded in February to this team.
Yes.
And we haven't seen anything. I do think it's going to be definitely a factor again of young guys stepping up. Grady Dick excites me. I think he can be something really electric. And we saw aspects of this last year, but RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, Grady Dick, another year older. They've got a lot of young talent, but again, I'm with Andrew. Feels a little scattered for me. I think they'll be over what they did last year. I don't think they're going to be over 37 and a half. So we're going to have to go.
You know what? I'll double down on this. They're going to be over 500. Going to go ahead and say it. They're going to be over 500.
What are they going to be, like the 3 seed in the East? What's going on?
No, come on. No,
well, let's talk a little bit about a team that might challenge that 50%. The Magic. Okay, the Magic I am very excited about. We know we've talked about their way to be resilient, to be gritty in this league. And they dealt with some major injuries last year. Those guys are healthy. Paolo Banchero is just fine. Franz Wagner, just fine. So over under is 51 and a half.
It's a lot.
That is a lot. Andrew, I'm gonna go back to you on this one. What do you think?
It is a lot. Someone does have to win in the East. And I think that they're going to be over this. I think this Orlando Magic team is ready to take the next step. They dealt with a ton of injury last year. And I know hopefully they don't have a ton of weird oblique injuries again. That was just very, very strange. Part of the reason why I think that they're going to win more is like their guard rotation was really, really bad last year. One of the worst in the NBA. If Jalen Suggs can stay healthy, you add Desmond Bane to that mix. You add Tyus Jones to that mix, who's just a great backup point guard that's going to take care of the ball. And I just think another year of development for Paolo and Franz I think like this team is just destined to be a lot better. And so
Agreed.
just adding some shooting in Desmond Bane is going to help. They need someone else to pop, though. Like they need like Tristan da Silva to be able to take on minutes and shoot it really well. You can't just get by with just like one really good shooter. They need somebody else. Like if Jett Howard could show some kind of life, that would be nice. I'm not counting on that. Mm-hmm. But they need a little bit more than just Desmond Bane shooting to make it work. But I do think like this team has a really high floor just because of their defense. And then offensively, if they can get a little bit more from some of these other guys on the roster, I think like they're going to win a lot of games. Like they're just going to beat teams defensively. And if they can just get a little bit more shooting across the roster, I think like this team is destined to win 53 games.
I also like the fact that they added Tyus Jones, and I think that is a great floor setter and adds that depth that you need, as Andrew's mentioning, from a guard perspective.
Yeah.
Also, Mo Wagner re-signed.
Yes.
Yeah. He's better or getting better. What do we think, S? Over under?
I'm going to take the over too. Just really quickly, Franz Wagner played 60 games last year. Jalen Suggs played 35. Paolo Banchero played 36. The main thing for me is health. And the guy I'm looking at is Jalen Suggs, because with him out of the lineup, their defense wasn't the same tenacious defense. I mean, they still defended the hell out of the ball, but they weren't as tenacious at the point of attack. He makes up what they want to do so much just with his feistiness guarding at his position. He sets the tone for them and for Jamal Mosley. And I think he's the big kind of swing factor for them this season to go above 51.5. If he's healthy, and honestly, they won 41 last year in a year where none of their players were healthy in and out of the lineup, like Andrew mentioned. I'm gonna take the over on this one for sure.
I'm gonna take the over, and health is gonna be a factor. Those playoffs showed me something. Yeah. The way that Paolo and Franz played off of each other in the playoffs versus the Celtics, yes, they lost 4-1. They didn't get swept, and those games were fun. Mm-hmm. They were exciting, especially in the first half, at least, where they felt like they had a grasp of how they wanted to attack Boston. Of course, Boston's a little bit more veteran, and they were figuring it out towards the end of games and being able to close things out. But I liked the things being put together at the end of that season, and I like now that they have a chip on their shoulder from what happened. So I'm going to take the over on the Magic. Let's move it to the West Coast. The Lakers. Lakers just got their extension out of Luka Doncic. They're feeling good. Now, did they put enough people around Luka to get a 47.5 for the season? Over, under? I'm going to have to ask you, S. Last year, they won 50 games. What do you think, S?
Yeah, this is tough because obviously they will now have a full season of Luka Doncic. Skinny Luka is going to be playing for them this year, according to all of the hype that Lakers fans have about how excited they are about his physical health and how he looks and fitness. Fit Luka, whatever you want to call him. So to me, that's the intriguing part. It's a full season of Luka Doncic. How does LeBron James look heading into year 23? I think they've rounded out their rotation well with DeAndre Ayton and Jake LaRavia and Marcus Smart. How effective those three will be, because they were pretty cost-effective pieces to add in the first place. Like DeAndre Ayton got bought out. Marcus Smart got bought out. They got bought out for reasons, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of if factors to what happens with the Lakers next season, and especially in a really competitive Western Conference where, honestly, Zena, like I could convince myself 13 teams could make the playoffs next year, and there's just not enough wins to go around. Yeah. And so I would probably say under for 47.5. Now I could have pie on my face and I would be okay with that if Luka Doncic has an MVP type season and just obviously like dominates and they win very easily more than 47.5 games. We've seen him do that with the Dallas Mavericks. But right now, where they are stacking up against the rest of the West, I think I'm taking the under.
Now, interestingly enough, when we talk about the East, it's someone's got to win games. When we talk about the West, there's not enough games to go around.
Not enough games to win.
Andrew, what are you thinking? Are there enough games to go around for the Lakers to get the over on this?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Lakers are going to be pretty good. I think.
Okay.
I think if a lot of it just hinges on Luka Doncic being healthy, and the fact that he's this committed to his health in the offseason, I think is a really good sign. And so I think LeBron always plays a lot of games. I think that, Luka's going to play a lot of games, and maybe this is just me like falling for it again. This is the football just being laid out there for me, and I'm just about to just swing and tear my other ACL here. But I just think that DeAndre Ayton is at the end of the road right now. Like he has to hopefully he's taking like a good hard look in the mirror at his much older looking face than his age and said like, I've got to lock in defensively. And if he does, I think this team is going to be really good. Now, playoffs is like a whole other story. Like I don't know how successful they're going to be in the playoffs, but I think regular season wise, I think they're going to win a ton of games. And so, yeah, give me the over.
I'd like to change my mind here. I'd like to change my mind. And the reason I say that is because I was looking at last year's standings, and the 8th seed, the Memphis Grizzlies, won 48 games. 47 and a half. Yeah. Feels easy. I think the Lakers will be a top 6 team in the West next year. Give me the over on that. Just statistically, it makes sense. Yeah.
I absolutely want the over on this. And I agree with you, Andrew. I think that Luka has something to prove this year, as well as DeAndre Ayton. I think the combination of those two is going to be really fun. I don't know what Marcus Smart is going to look like out on the floor. I don't think he's going to be like the game changer, but I do think that's going to add another level of grit to them, a little edge to the Lakers. So I'm taking the over on this. Heading back over to Detroit, the Pistons, who won 44 games last season. Over under 45 and a half. This is the little engine that could coming out of the East. What do you think?
So they had a really great season, and I was a big fan of them. As you guys remember, called the fact that they were going to be a playoff team. Just want to mention that because of what I've talked about with the Raptors and Blazers, just want to throw that in there,
Preseason, you were a big fan of them.
Yes, absolutely. I think this team is just as good as it was last year. They added Karis LeVert. They added Duncan Robinson. They've re-signed a couple of their guys. They're also regaining Jaden Ivey, which I think is a massive part of their equation. Yep. Now, Cade and Jaden Ivey didn't necessarily they got better playing together, but they didn't necessarily win their minutes consistently. It was more splitting time, one guy on the floor, one guy off the floor type of things for the Pistons when they were playing last year. I'm curious to see how much Ivey adapts to what the Pistons found throughout the season last year, and whether that means having a more refined version of his game. Regardless, I think that's like a talent add for a Pistons team that won 44 games. And I think that's why I would say over. Also, to the point of the Eastern Conference, I think this is like very thoroughly the 4th or 5th best team in the Eastern Conference, depending on who you talk to. And so they're locked into the East playoffs, in my opinion. I think they're right there, especially with this young group getting better. I'm going to take the over.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And to me, the reason I would take the over is just like, I believe in Cade Cunningham. Like, I think he's going to continue to take steps. Like, he's the exact kind of player that you want leading your team. He's a 6'6" guard that is going to handle most of your possessions. And he was 7th in MVP voting last year, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like, he made a massive leap in his 3rd season or his 4th season. And I think like he is going to continue to get better. And so I'll take the over there. Losing Malik Beasley is a huge deal. It's a huge, huge deal.
They did add Duncan Robinson from a shooting perspective. It's not Malik Beasley numbers, but yes, I agree. Yeah.
Losing him is a huge deal, but I just think like the step up that Cade is going to take and that Jalen Duren could take too are going to be enough to overcome some of the losses.
Also, like
you guys are forgetting my favorite player.
Asar?
Is it
Asar Thompson?
Yeah. I was just about to mention him.
He also was injured for a significant portion, and he's going to have another offseason coming back in. I'm big on the Pistons. I think going from 44 wins to over 45 is not going to be an issue. I'm taking the over on the Pistons. Let's keep it moving. Timberwolves, 50 and a half is the over under for this season. Last year, they had 49 wins. in the regular season. Andrew?
Yeah, I worry a little bit about this Minnesota Timberwolves squad.
Okay. What's keeping you up at night?
Well, I think losing Nikhil is a really big deal for their rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think you can replace him. I don't know. I think regular season, they're going to be fine. I think that Edwards could be better. I think there's a lot of things that could be better about this team. I am going to take the under, though, for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Finally, we have an under. That was
Yes.
the first under we're taking, by the way.
I'll take the under. I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back, just because I think that this team is just worse. I think that they needed to kind of shore up some stuff around Ant in the backcourt, and Mike Conley's a year older. They lost Nikhil. They're counting on some like really young guys that haven't been there before yet, and so I do worry about like, can Rob Dillingham, can he take on like real minutes? I think is a huge question. And if he can't, then I don't really know what the answers are for the Timberwolves. So I'm taking the under there. I think that they'll have another chance to make a conference finals. I think that they're that good, but regular season wise, I think they're going to take a step back.
I feel like they're putting a lot of pressure on Terrence Shannon Jr. to step up and become someone
totally
on this
totally.
roster.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I look at that trio of Rob Dillingham, Terrence Shannon Jr., and Jalen Clark of guys that are going to step into rotation minutes next year and fill what Nickeil Alexander-Walker was for this team. To your point, Andrew, Mike Conley a year older, but also Rudy Gobert a year older. And he was good.
Yeah.
He had a good season, in my opinion. But for the most part, you think of a guy who's now in his 30s. Obviously, like every year, there's a little bit extra mileage on his body of a 7-footer. And so my question is, like, how much longer can he be that active defensive anchor for them consistently? And then what's behind him? And so to me, I will say under, and I think it's more about a learning curve for this Timberwolves team to figure out some of their younger pieces, whether it is their young guy, their young big man who they drafted in Johan Berenger. He obviously showed intrigue in the summer league. I'm very curious to see how. I don't think he's going to play tons of minutes, but again, like getting that development from this young group is the key thing for this Timberwolves team. And I think when you have so many young players that probably end up in your rotation, you're not going to win as many regular season games. So I'm going to go under, but they might be better for it in the playoffs because of it.
I really kind of hate that we're all going like 3 for 3 on some things, because I'm going under as well. The West is getting tougher every year, and I don't think that Minnesota got better with the moves that they made. Now, we keep talking about younger with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that's who's going to need to step up. Well, the youth in Philadelphia is going to have to step up as well, because some of these off-siding moves for the 76ers, adding Kyle Lowry, Eric Gordon, got a little bit older, but, you know, they also are going to get some people back that were injured last year. So let's talk about 76ers right now, over under 42.5. Last year, our 76ers ended at 24 games. But Jared McCain's coming back. You know, Paul George, Joel Embiid. What are we thinking, S, starting with you?
So if I was actually betting, I would tell bettors to not bet on the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, damn.
Because it is terrifying to even look at. 42.5 wins for a team where Paul George is already injured. We're getting reports of Joel Embiid and his knee not necessarily being 100% yet, and they don't know if he'll be ready for training camp. They're going to take a slow approach with Embiid's knee generally, which I think is the right approach. But for winning regular season games, I don't know how many you're going to win if your two best guys are not there. That being said, Tyrese Maxey going to be fully healthy to start the season. Their rookie in VJ Edgecombe is very exciting. We'll see what happens with Quentin Grimes and them re-signing him. Jared McCain should be intriguing. Their guard trio or quartet, if you will, is really fun.
Right.
I just don't know how healthy this team is going to be. And so I would personally say under, because I don't know what to expect from Joel Embiid and Paul George, and I just wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it. I'm sorry. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, Paul George had surgery this July in the offseason to clean up his left knee. He is supposed to be evaluated at the start of training camp. Is that enough for you, Andrew?
No.
Do you feel confident enough
No.
in the talent available?
No.
Okay.
No. Absolutely not. Yeah. No. I mean, like, Joel Embiid is not going to play a lot of games. He's just not. And the problem, that's the biggest issue to me, is like they don't have anybody to back him up. Like, Andre Drummond is there to back him up. Andre Drummond is not going to drive wins. And they have a Dembona who's behind him, who I don't think is going to help him win games. I mean, the truth is, like, they have a lot of good young players, but young players don't win games in the NBA. That's just like a hard and fast rule. Like, young guys don't win games. And so I do worry about them. I think Tyrese Maxey will be kind of like the lone guy that's going to play a lot of games for them. But everybody else is either injury prone or they're too young to help them win. Like, I don't think that McCain is necessarily like ready to help this team win a lot of games. So give me the under. I don't care what the number is. Give me the under.
Yeah. I think they're going to win 40 games. So that technically is under the 42.5. But we're going to see a lot of, I think, 40-point games out of Tyrese Maxey and Quentin Grimes, which will be fun, which will be fun to watch. All right, let's keep it going. Blazers going up to the Northwest. Over under right now is 33.5. 33.5, and they won 36 games last year. So BetMGM, the market, everyone thinks it got worse. What do you think?
This is my team, folks. My team for next year. Yes, absolutely. I'm rocking with the Portland Trail Blazers. I'm going over.
Okay.
Look, before I start on my pitch for why they over, I understand that there will be offensive concerns since they've lost Anthony Simons, since they've lost DeAndre Ayton. I completely get it. But they will be a defensive juggernaut, in my opinion. They will be one of the best defensive teams in the league.
Juggernaut.
I know Drew Holiday. Yes, juggernaut. yes. There are going to be puff pieces all over about this Portland Trail Blazers defense in January. And I think a big part of that, obviously, like adding Drew Holiday, who is older, who is on, in his mid-30s at this point, isn't the defender he once was, but still a very good point of attack defender, is big. I think generally, if you look up and down their depth chart, they just have plus defenders basically everywhere. Donovan Clingan stepping into a bigger role is something I'm intrigued by. Young Hansen, I'm intrigued by. I don't know how many minutes he'll end up getting, but it'd be fun to watch young Hansen cook. I'm going to go over purely for the fact that they won 36 games last year, and 33.5 just feels disrespectful to a team that kind of figured things out last year, in my opinion. I'm going to go over. I don't know if I would go wildly over because it's the Western Conference, but I think they could win 36 games again, to be honest with you. So, yeah, over.
Yeah, I'll take the over too. I won't use words like juggernaut or my team or anything like that. Like, I don't have to do all that.
This is my Pistons. Ooh. This is this
Andrew's
year's
simmering
Pistons
it down
team.
for us. All right, give us the tepid take here, Andrew.
I think this team is better than they were last year. I think they have an identity. I think that they have a coach that is on more solid ground with his extension. And I just think like they're going to be good defensively. I agree with that take. I agree with I agree with everything that S said. It was just like he had to just like
I leaned in too much.
Dumping sprinkles on a cake where you're like, wait. Like, why are you doing that? The cake's already pretty good. You don't need to do that.
The icing's there. There's
exactly. icing there.
Right.
And in fact, there's already sprinkles on it, but you're just like, let's go. Like you're very excited about it, which is cool, I guess.
Wants a sugar high.
Shade and Sharp.
Which is fine.
Sprinkles all over Shade and Sharp. Let's just.
That's what I was going to say. Shade and Sharp is my sprinkle. Scoot Henderson, another year older, is my, and then of course you mentioned Matisse Thybulle. You talked about Toumani Camara. Like the defense is going to be there, and I think that shores up. And I think that that's why. We haven't even
mentioned their best player, Denny Avdia.
Denny Avdia, exactly.
Yeah.
And he was cooking towards the end of the season last year. So awesome. I definitely think they'll be in a good position to definitely get over 33.5 games. So definitely taking the over on that one. Let's go down to the Spurs. 43.5 is their over under. Remember, they basically last year had to play games without Wemby towards the end of the season. They only won 34 games. Okay, so this is a bit of a jump. 43.5. Andrew, I'm gonna start with you. What do you think?
I'll take a slight over for the San Antonio Spurs. I think having De'Aaron Fox there for the whole season, I think, is a big deal. He's locked in. If Victor Wembanyama just plays a majority of the season, I think that you're in a good spot. They also have like good backups for him. I think that Luke Cornett and Kelly Olynyk are going to just be helpful to them. And then like how much further they can go than that is like solely dependent on a lot of these younger players that they have. They're like, can Stephon Castle take a step forward with his shooting? I think is a massive question. I'm still like a believer in Jeremy Sohan, and like I don't know that there are a ton of believers out there in him, especially in his fit with Wemby. But I just like a guy that has the tools that he has as a defensive player, and then offensively, like the shooting's not there, but there's a whole lot else to like about him. And so like there's potential for him to take a step forward for sure. But then like I don't know, like they're still really young. This is still a really young roster for the most part. And so I think like the talent of Wemby and the talent of De'Aaron Fox will drag you to like the 45-ish wins that they could get to be the over. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think they're headed in the right direction. And I think that they're going to get to where they want to go eventually, but you know, baby steps for the Spurs.
Yeah. Speaking of those baby steps, I am going to go over on this one. This is mostly because I think people are overcorrecting on De'Aaron Fox a little bit. Yes, he got a massive contract. And so there's obviously people that sticker shock of like, oh my God, he's max player, is making this much money. I think he's going to have a really great season for the Spurs. And I think he's the perfect guard to pair alongside Victor Wembanyama. Think of a downhill threat who can get to the basket, who can create his own shot. And you think of the pick and pop ability of Victor Wembanyama and how that kind of works machination wise with what Fox can bring on the floor. I think it's a perfect fit. And I think a full season of that should win 43.5 plus games. So very easily an over for me. And plus, I think their young guys are good defenders. And when you have young guys who are good defenders above everything else, you're going to have a baseline for everything you want to do.
This is actually the first one I'm kind of struggling. I don't know if I want to take the over or under, mainly because we still don't really know what De'Aaron Fox and Wemby look like together. I still feel a little bit like Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle, all the young guys on that team do have to take a step up. I think I'll take I might take the under.
I think they'll take switch it up. Switch it up.
Yeah. Let's round it out with the biggest question mark in the West, the Rockets, the Houston Rockets. Now, this is the one that is being blown out the water on the betting markets, 55.5. 55.5. Now, remember, they had 52 games last year, but they've added some big names, Dorian Finney-Smith, and of course, Kevin Durant. Close us out. What do you think?
Yeah, so it feels like this is an easy over. And the reason I would say it's an easy over is because even if Kevin Durant misses time, this is a team that won 52 games without him. They have a baseline, again, that baseline of competency when it comes to their defense. Their defense wins them games in the regular season. All of their questions, in my opinion, are playoff focused, right? Can this team score in the clutch? Can this team score in the fourth quarter in the playoffs? And that's more of a Kevin Durant question. That's about Kevin Durant's availability, how healthy he is come April and May. In the regular season, this team should be absolutely dominant. And you look at the rotation that they have, the depth that they have, steps from an Amen Thompson and Tari Eason, getting those young guys to get more opportunities, maybe Reed Shepherd pops. I think they have like 9-10 players consistently that can play rotation minutes for them. When you have that in the regular season and when you have the talent that they do, they're going to win a lot of games. So 55.5, I'm going to go over for sure.
Yeah, I think the name of the game for the NBA right now is depth. Like, especially if you're going to be like a 60-ish win team, like they have it. They have depth at every single position. Like they may even have excess depth, you could say.
They really do. Yeah.
There's going to be good players that don't get much burn for them. And so Now that can be a problem depending on like how your team culture is. I think like that is something to monitor, is like, are there going to be young guys that are going to be satisfied? I think that's why they dealt Cam Whitmore, is because like there was just not going to be the minutes for him, and he was not going to be happy about that. Now you do have signs that the chemistry and the cohesiveness is there with Fred VanVleet, taking the deal that he did this summer. I think like that is like a clear signal to the rest of the roster. Like, hey, like we're building towards something together, and there's sacrifice that's happening. So I will also take the over, just because I think like Houston has built this team for the modern NBA, and they have what it takes to be. I mean, I think that they could have a top 3 record in the NBA period this year. And so
agreed.
I think they'll repeat as the number 2 seed in the West, and will look pretty strong going into the playoffs. And yeah, they'll have huge questions to answer once they get there. But regular season, I don't think there's a ton of questions in my mind.
Agreed. Taking the over. I think at least 60 wins with this team. The depth is there, but I also love the veteran experience that they added to this team. Of course, adding Kevin Durant, but Clint Capella as well. I just really like the fact that they've got people that have been in locker rooms and know what it takes to focus and win. And I think that that's going to be huge. They re-signed a lot of folks, and this will be great mentorship for some of those young guys that definitely want to get more minutes and be more impactful on the team. So we're just going to stick with that. I think that was amazing, guys.
I just want to say we took 1 under.
Are we just like way too hype on the NBA right now? Like what? It
probably had to do with the teams that I chose too. Like I wanted to end our little run
on a high
here.
Note. Yeah,
I took 2 under.
Okay.
I took 2 unders.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
We, the Wolves and the Spurs for you, and then the Wolves for everybody. But,
I'm a negative Nancy over here in comparison. Okay. Well, appreciate you guys doing that exercise with me. That was a lot of fun. And remember, guys, this is our last show until the top of September. So if you guys want to know the exact moment that we're dropping back in, you need to make sure you follow, subscribe, do all the digital things so that you can be back up with us when season starts to pick back up. Otherwise, you're just going to have to wait until next year's Pistons pick is immortalized. So see you guys then. Appreciate the time, and enjoy the rest of your day.